Welcome to another episode of the SUP FM podcast. On this show we chat with either people from the SUP tribe or to people who can help us to improve our knowledge and to increase our love of both the sport and the water. There are a number of rivers out there which are immediately recognised as a place for exploration and adventure, and I got together with a previous guest on the show and their team to work up this episode all about their experiences on the River Amazon. So what you're about to hear is Kaz Dawson and team as they take part in the Amazon Challenge race. And we're joined by Kaz Dawson, whose voice you'll hear most in this episode, and who will also give a few thoughts at the end of this adventure. Here's the immersive audio diary of Kaz, John and Matt's experiences as they take part in the Amazon Challenge 2024.
Buenos dias, amigos. This is the morning after our first full jungle camp, which was fantastic last night. Staying with the communities has been fantastic as well, but last night in the rainforest was wonderful. We went for a night wander and found all sorts of interesting and cool animals, a couple of snakes, a few tarantulas, many frogs and toads, a cockroach the size of your hand, and it was pretty awesome walking around. Really good night's sleep last night, and today we've got another long day and we will be at another wild camp tonight. I'm currently walking along what used to be a logger's track, and that's why we're here in the Amazon, trying to help find the communities and locals alternative ways of making money through ecotourism rather than logging. Now I'm going to go find a place to poop.
So I'm just walking back now, but we've been staying with the Shintari tribe this afternoon. We've met up with them. So we stopped here around lunchtime. We paddled, probably about 36 kilometres this morning. And they've welcomed us here. And we've just been playing with all the school children on a little creek on the river. We've got the paddleboards out and they've been having the best of times doing little races and games and playing. And then the Shintari have also made a wooden raft, so we were racing with them, and the whole community has just turned out to come and play on the boards. So it's just been such a great afternoon. But yeah, today another great day paddling. Probably the end of our whitewater sort of stretches now. The first 2 days. Tomorrow we're moving into an area which is occupied by the Machu Picchu, which are an uncontacted tribe. We've got lots of strict instructions in terms of where we can paddle and how we kind of behave in those areas. So we're going to learn more about that this evening. But yeah, just a fantastic day. It's so hot, so humid, so many animals and creatures. Today we saw tapir tracks. Just on the side of the river we saw turtle nests. We've seen so many big cat footprints, probably a jaguar that we've seen today. But yeah, the place is just alive. Everywhere you look, there's just something moving, and just having the best of times. So we're now below, below 300 kilometres. My bad. Below 300 kilometres. So we've got another big distance still to follow. So I've just been for my little morning walk. You know the walks I mean. The ones where you go and relieve yourself after a night in a tent. How many people can say they've been for a walk to the toilet via a tarantula's nest? A little nest of 5 of them, a mummy and 5 babies, the mummy being about the size of your hand, and yeah, just casually walk past. Last night we went for an amazing nature walk. So we went with a guy called Brody, who's been on the support boats with us, and he took us deep into the jungle. I think we went about 3k last night into the jungle, and the stuff we saw, from cockroaches the size of your hand to a fake coral snake, to tarantulas, to a horned Amazon frog. I've got a whole list of the creatures we saw. There was just no end to the amazing things. It was. I can only describe it like a documentary that you'd see on television. And we walked through with our machete and our torches, just hiking through the jungle looking for creatures. Some of the most amazing spiders. We saw the Amazon's most deadly spider. I think it's called the Wanderer spider. But yeah, we've just seen so much stuff, so much stuff. And then you go on a night walk, and then you have to come back and pitch your tent and know that you are lying probably no more than 20 metres away from a nest of tarantulas. You've got to put your head in a place there to think, oh, actually, we're okay in our little tent, we'll be fine. But yeah, it's just amazing, and you can just hear it around. It's just constantly alive. The forest just never sleeps. It's never quiet, but just incredible. Just packing our tent up, and there was a little bit of a buzz above our heads, and it's the world's smallest hummingbird just trying to get a bit of nectar at some flowers. I thought it was a hornet or a bee, but just stood here watching it, just how remarkable. So at Camp 3, made it in really good time yesterday. We had a medical check in Bokomanu. We met a doctor, so we all got inspected, checked that we didn't have any issues with things like our feet or insect bites, just generally checking we're in good health and fit to continue. And then we went a couple of K more and then pitched in the jungle. And where we pitched last night, I have to say I've never, ever in my life seen stars like it. We were sat on the riverbank, went to look for some caiman, and you could see the Milky Way. It was the darkest sky I've ever seen and probably ever will see. It was just unbelievable. And then the other thing, though, is kind of opposite where we are, and we're in kind of Cocaine Central here, is an illegal airstrip where they bring in and out drugs and drug material for production. So you get to hear, the planes overhead, but they're all like little illegal planes smuggling and moving drug stuff. So we're just about to go to breakfast now. We're going to get the plan for today. So we're going to go down an alleyway called Croc Alley, which I presume is because there's lots of crocodilians, caiman. So black caiman is what we're going to be keeping an eye out for. But the next 2 days now, we're going to be on our own. So Camp 4, Camp 5 is actually wherever we want to pitch up. We've got about 120 kilometres to cover over the 2 days. And we've got 2 camps. So it's kind of, we do our own thing. So we're just getting prepped, ready for that, have some breakfast, get our water bottles filled, energy levels high, and get on the water again.
Tomorrow it's more or less 144 kilometers until where the stop of the independent camping, stop. We will set a checkpoint more or less midway, somewhere that we find reasonable, between 66-70k, where the crew will have a gazebo. There will be a chance to top up some water, and you're more than welcome to stay with us. If not, feel free to push a bit forward or to come back.
So again, after how many kilometers is it from here?
The checkpoint?
Yeah.
We'll see. It's in 66, 70.
Okay.
4 up, 4 down.
Right.
It's Carlos.
It's
Carlos
Carlos.
kilometres, yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking. It will be on the point that we set in the map. We will try to be within there, and if we're not exactly there, we will be within eyesight. So that's the way. Today we have 2 arms that we can take. We're gonna get one of the motorboats to shoot ahead and place a flag If you don't see a flag for whatever reason, we also have some fluorescent material, like the one of the life vests, like yellow fluor. If we might put that as well on a bamboo in case we run out of flags or something happens. That means this arm is open, you can take it. Today we have 2 arms, okay? We have the first one, which is Croc Alley, which is... Barraca está aquí abajo, ¿no? ¿Cuántas vueltas? 2?
Croc Alley, es el primero.
For the Croc Alley, for the subs, be a bit careful. There's some bits of shallow waters and a bit of water above the vegetation line. So it can be a bit tricky to navigate. That's where we had for canoes our only capsize last year. This is because it's quite shallow and sometimes you cannot see something submerged, and it's very easy to tackle something sideways, and you would be surprised. You're a bit sideways, something hits you, and you can capsize pretty easily, like you guys almost experienced on day 1. Then after that we have the next alley, which is Tambo Blanquillo, or Tambo Blan, which is a bit further down. We'll also place a boat there to indicate you where to come in. If for whatever reason you overshoot or you don't take the alley, it's no biggie, you will reconnect as well. The reason why we put these is because the wildlife there is really, really cool. It's amazing. Remember, when you enter them, the quieter you are, the more chances you have to see some stuff. And by the way, we had a black caiman sleeping here yesterday, quite a big one. Then after the optional campsite or the checkpoint where you can restock tonight, those arms, the Bocay Xiribe, short and long, are closed. So after the checkpoint, we stay to the main river. Those arms are closed. There's, as we spoke yesterday, there's been some cocaine labs there, and yeah, we just are not allowed to go. It's as easy. There's no negotiating there.
And that's for tomorrow you're talking about, the short and long?
That's for tomorrow, yeah. After you see our checkpoint for tonight, after checkpoint 4, then we have the red flag, which it's almost at Boca Colorado, where the river Colorado meets. And from then on, the independent camping stops, just because there's a very high presence of gold mines, and the chance of maybe getting mugged or something are increased quite a bit. So that's why we have this checkpoint that we have agreed with the mines, where we're all good to go and stay. Depending how early you make it, on day 5 to pass Boca Colorado, we are going to try to place one of the crew boats there, so you guys can stop and go there and have a look. If for whatever reason we're not there, there's some people in the port that you can give a tip that they look after the boat, but it's up to you to see how much you trust that and how much equipment you actually leave on your vessel. It's an interesting town to see. It's not the most beautiful tourism-wise, but there's a lot going on. And then on day 5, we all meet midway from Colorado to Los Amigos, and from them we all go together for the last day. For these independent stages, now it's really important to please do the start, the stop, the start, the stop, the start, the stop, because we will drift further away. We will be way further away from you for anything.
My tracker's on. Hello, it's day 5. We had a camp on a beach last night, which was lovely. Lots and lots of midges, sandflies and other flying beasties, and I think all 3 of us have been ripped to pieces, especially Kaz and I. This morning is an earlier start. We're on the water for 7, and this morning was absolutely beautiful. Really thick mist descending all around the rainforest, the river, the valley, the trees. We've had parrots flying over this morning, and life's pretty sweet.
Okay, so it's the second to last day, penultimate day tomorrow, where we have got one of the longest paddles again to actually go through. Today was epic. It was 76 kilometres in at least 32 degrees. Pretty grueling for temperature wise. Paddle wise, do you know what, the distance was fine. It was just the heat, the oppressive heat to actually just deal with. There was not a single cloud in the sky. It was taunting us with the capability of just being overcast, but not at all. We started early this morning. We were off at 7 a.m, which was great because we were off through the fog. We woke up with very thick fog. Amazing, and we were just meandering through that, made some amazing photographs, and just felt true explorers just going down the river. But it burnt off in about an hour, and then we just carried on paddling. It was good. We managed to get 40k before 12 o'clock, which was pretty good going. But then after 40 kilometers, the river just stopped flowing. It was like a giant lake. So very interesting to then try and push on through the grueling heat and actually then just make it happen. However, we did have a 15-minute stop in Boca, a Wild West town, which is kind of like tin shack alley with little tuk-tuks riding around and everything else. It's flipping crazy. We managed to get ourselves 12 beers, so we're ready for tomorrow, the party and the celebration of actually just finishing what is the self-proclaimed toughest challenge. But it's hard. It's a tough, grueling one to actually then just get out and work with. And I can't be more proud of Kaz. She's a flipping machine. She makes me, who is trying very, very hard, feel like I'm not able to try hard enough because she's just there right by the side and doing it. Matt, phenomenal, amazing humour throughout the entire day, but I think we all found it just an interesting one to actually then just push through. But of course 30 and 60k involved the Amazon song, so we did that and actually had a great bouncing up time. I think that was a disco version today, which was quite fun to actually push through. We've gone through loads of gold mines today, so from the first 13 kilometres it changed from what we've been just so honoured to see as pretty untouched Amazon rainforest on the side with a few little tiny farms either side with bananas and papayas and things, now to dredging, lots of dredging for gold, and actually that's the mainstay of living around here. And Boca is literally that Wild West place where people then take the gold, have it smelted down and actually get the money for it. So it's a crazy place, and it's hard to then say, well, you can't do it because you're polluting the water and everything else, but what are these people have got to actually go to and actually earn money from? So let's just hope adventure tourism is the way to actually then just make it happen. Just to explain the scenery where I am tonight, we're on a big pebbly sandy beach. The stars are phenomenal. You can see a big stripe across the sky, which is the Milky Way. Everything's a little bit upside down, topsy-turvy, because we're the other side of the equator, and the moon is just a waxing waning moon, so it's just that kind of a sliver, kind of like a ring that you can see that it's just there. It's amazing. The stars are just like little pinpricks in the sky, and I've never experienced black skies like it. The only thing that is creating distance of light and things is the guys in the boats just literally looking after them. There's a campfire where everybody's just chatting about the day and actually having a great time, just regaling of their little challenges throughout the day. But in the distance over the other side of the beach there was a bright red flame, and what they were doing was smelting down their day's haul of gold with the mercury to then allow them to earn their living, which is, you know, that's what they do, and that's how it is. So interesting to actually see. It's the full experience of actually understanding what has and is happening in Peru to then go and see. But with that, I'm going to leave you with 1 minute of the amazing sounds of the background of what is our camp.
Well, it's the final day. I haven't really said anything the last couple of days, just because, I don't know, it's just been so blooming tough. We've had 2 days of over 70 kilometres, but the distance hasn't really been the issue. The challenge has been the conditions. We've had very, very slow moving water, where last year the guys that did it had probably additional 2 metres on top of what we've got, so it's running slow. The sections we're doing is very long, slow meanders. And the heat is an absolute killer. It's been getting up to 35, 37 maybe in the afternoon, and we've been paddling through that, so it's been trying to keep our body temperature down, getting enough in the way of hydration, keeping motivated when it's really, really hot. It's so hard. We were one of the few teams that made it into main camp on time last night. The cut-off time was 5 and we were the first team in. But yeah, that kind of shows how sort of tough it is. There were teams having to get towed yesterday. There were teams that didn't even make camp 5 yesterday. So the fact we were the first ones back and here, I think sort of shows testament to our grit and determination, really, to get it through. But that aside, we are now on the final day. No idea what it's going to behold. There's some rumours in camp that things maybe slightly changed this morning. We don't know to what. We're getting on the water at 7 a.m, so nice and early. But we're just trying to figure out what they're going to ask us to do, whether it's going to be a slightly different course or shortened course. But yeah, I know they've been sort of struggling really with this flow issue on the river. And just to say, I suppose the Amazon at the moment, in the Amazon basin and where we are, is actually in a drought situation. So yeah, less water. Even though it looks like there's a lot of water here, you can tell that it's very low. So, final day. Me and Matt just sat here now, having our breakfast, aren't we?
Hello and good morning.
Good morning. What are you having, Matt?
I have chocolate muesli this morning, dehydrated meal, and it has been my favourite breakfast so far.
I think we all agree, actually. The chocolate muesli with little freeze-dried strawberries, I think, is our favourite breakfast. I've even loved it that much. I've had it for my lunch, I think yesterday.
I'm washing it down with a very, very tea.
Oh yeah, I've got a mug of coffee. I've got a coffee bag, so tucking into them. But the meals have been fantastic. Thank you, Base Camp, for helping us and supporting us with those, and Real Termat for putting us in touch with Base Camp and the support with the discount now with the meals. We've had to carry a lot of meals, and it has helped keep us fueled down the river. So, what wildlife have we seen on the Amazon? We've seen a huge array. Probably the last 48 hours we've seen the most diversity of wildlife. I think I would only probably pitch it to a Attenborough documentary with the amount we've seen. I'll share with you some of my highlights, and I'll get Matt to share with you some of his highlights. Mine has to be, I think, the river otters was a pretty cool thing. The giant Amazon river otters, which I believe are quite a rarity. They're probably 3 times the size of the ones we'd see in the UK.
Yeah.
They're huge, and they were
massive and so long.
Really long and really inquisitive. They were quite fascinated with us going past on a board, and they were looking at us. And my second one has to be the Amazon, is it the horn frog?
Yeah, the horn frog.
Oh, what a creature that was. And again, they're pretty rare too. So we stumbled across one of them in the forest where we were camping a couple of nights ago, and it's got a big horn on the top of its head and just sits there under rocks, just gobbling things. But really, really impressive creature to see. What have been your couple of highlights, Matt?
We saw monkeys yesterday at 2 different points. They were really funky, just swinging along the trees right down by water level. That was a fantastic sight to see. Yesterday morning started with toucans, a pair of toucans flying over our heads. I love toucans. We've had scarlet macaws and the blue macaws crisscrossing morning and evenings. But we saw a family of armadillos, which was magical. Towards the end of yesterday, there was maybe 4 small ones and an adult. Down by the water's edge, they saw us and scurried up the muddy slope, falling and rolling as they were doing it to try and get up and away from the scary paddleboarders. That was fantastic to see.
What went past your tent last night, Matt?
A big cat of some description went past the tent last night. It was around 3 o'clock-ish. There was lots of sniffing and snorting. Just behind my tent was another one of Captain Canada, one of our canoe crews. He really heard it as it was sniffing around the side of his tent. Looking out into the dark after I heard the noise, it was dark and I couldn't really see anything, but there was some sort of darker looming patch just walking away, which was wonderful.
And actually everywhere we've camped, particularly the last 2-3 nights, because we've been down by the water, sleeping on kind of beaches and sort of softer areas, there's been some really, really incredible big cat footprints. I think we mostly think jaguars, but yeah, they are definitely around here. And I think here they like to feed on capybara, which I think we normally see, or they said they normally see, but we haven't seen the capybara yet, so hopefully we'll see some on our way today. So yeah, an impressive list of wildlife. We've only gone and done it. The first one's back here, completed the Amazon challenge, all 3 of us with beaming smiles and cold beers, having a little cheeky drink in the sunshine, celebrating. But yeah, we've completed it. No idea how far we've paddled because the distances have just changed every day. I need to tot up and work out our last kilometres. But we've had the most epic day. We've managed to get off the water and it's only 1:30. We paddled our little cotton socks off. We've covered over 55k this morning, got on the water just after 7. Just paddled. We had a little bit of a drama. Little Matty got stung by a swarm of wasps. Both of us got chased by wasps down the river. We had to paddle like Billy-O. But then one landed on his paddling middle finger. So we had to pull on in and dish out the old antihistamines. Sorry, I'm just like all over the shop.
Which also work as sleeping tablets.
Yeah, so then Matt started getting a bit slow and sleepy, so we had to give him a bit of a kick up the arse then on the river just to get us to the finish line. But yeah, we've bloody done it. And what an amazing challenge. And I think anybody that's thinking of doing it next year, give it a go. Oh, is this the Germans? The Germans are coming! Germans!
So, well, that was fantastic. Did that bring some memories back?
It sure did. There was certainly some things there that had faded away. I'd sort of forgotten about ever so slightly. So to hear that, and particularly to hear the kind of the water, the insects, the sort of noises in the background of the jungle, yeah, kind of made me feel like I was back there again.
Yeah, absolutely. It made us feel like that as well. So the first question is, and I hope it came across in the audio, that this is a very dangerous area potentially, which is why the planning and organisation of the event's so key. And it wasn't just from the animals. So what was your experience, particularly in the Gold Town? Because I guess it's literally the law of the jungle, both there and near to all of the cocaine factories out there as well.
So Boca, Colorado, I think I can only describe it as the Wild West. It was pretty fruity. And when we got there, I think Carlos and Freya, the organisers, really wanted us to sort of submerge ourselves and see the town. So they put us on the back of this little truck that was carrying water bottles, and we had no clue. They just drove. They just drove really fast. And actually, it was quite funny because John's parents were following us on the track, and they thought we'd been taken hostage at the speed of knots. We'd sort of sped into the centre of town on the back of this truck. And the more we were going in, the more I was thinking, I really don't like this place. Like, it's just not my vibe at all. And you're sort of going in there, and yeah, there were kind of these kind of clothes hung up that looked like kind of prostitute clothes. It was all very kind of, and sell your gold here, and it was all kind of gambling. And I was like, gosh, what is this place in the middle of the jungle that they've sent us? So, it was quite an experience. It was kind of like a modern day version of the kind of the gold rush in America. I would describe it as. It's interesting.
Wow, quite a variety of experiences you had out there, and just tell us about your contact with the tribes out there and how isolated they are, because I guess the challenge or the balance for events like this is it can potentially negatively impact their culture through contact from outside, but to balance that, they won't have a culture if what they live is cut down for commercial use. So just tell us about some of your encounters and contact with those tribes.
So the first couple of days we stayed with two tribes, with their kind of goal really of engaging with community. So their aim was like sort of setting up ecotourism opportunities. They really wanted to see good in the possibilities of kind of tourism and that interaction with the Western world. And they'd set up, they had sort of dedicated areas. That one of the tribes had sort of hot springs. It was all very kind of geared up for kind of people. And for them, they're always kind of battling this challenge between trying to earn money through illegal ways. Well, we say illegal ways, but actually for them it's their way of life. The logging, the gold, the cocaine. That there really isn't anything else out there for them. So if they are looking to raise funds and money and have the things that we become accustomed to, then they're kind of forced really down those routes. So exploring opportunities, and I think that's what the Amazon Challenge has done so well, is working with those tribes that wish to be engaged, those local communities, to try and enable them to look for those other streams. I think the challenge they have is how remote the area is. So you're not going to be getting people passing daily or weekly, dropping in, using. They might. You're talking a few occasions each year. It's not a big trade. So part of this Amazon Challenge was actually raising funds for the community. So as a team, we raised, it was just shy of £2,500, which we split between the communities and the biological stations which we visited. So between that, it's all about kind of managing the forest and trying to sort of preserve and maintain that sort of pristine rainforest that we all love. And then the other side of it as well was the Machu Picchu, which are a tribe, an uncontacted tribe, which are very kind of different, where they didn't really want that contact. They wanted to remain in their area. They wanted to keep doing their sort of thing, which had been keeping themselves to themselves and living from the forest. So there were tribes and communities that did want to engage and others that didn't. So it was being aware of that. And what's been interesting is probably before and after the journey, how much reading I've tried to do around the subject to understand, the challenges and the barriers. And it was actually really interesting. I don't know if anybody saw it, but only a couple of days ago, it was picked up by the Daily Mail, the Machu Picchu, and there was some quite interesting videos. And again, it was just about the challenges of how they'd come out of the forests because they were getting pressured by the logging. So that was kind of an interesting piece. So there's lots and lots. There's a really good Netflix documentary as well. So there's some bits you can kind of read up about them. But yeah, fascinating. And my knowledge of the area in terms of the people, the wildlife, the cultures, is somewhere I knew very little about, has just become quite a fascination really now. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's an incredible environment to be operating on, whether you're tribes or whatever you're doing there, and obviously particularly your journey, and it was clearly very tough paddling, and evidence of that was that the audio went quiet for a couple of days on the water as you were sort of just basically digging in. So just give us a sense of those days, because clearly you were just concentrating on getting through those tough conditions.
Mm. Yeah, I think what was quite unusual was the time we were there, we didn't have any rain. So it's kind of classed as a rainforest, but the whole time we were out on the water were record breaking temperatures, record low water levels. So that really posed a challenge. And I think the distances weren't huge distances. I know the sort of the bigger races, bigger challenges out there where you're covering off much bigger mileage in a day. But the challenge was the temperatures and the physicality of being able to deal in sort of 30 plus degrees day in, day out. And it didn't drop much during the evening, and trying to keep hydrated, keep food down, and just keep moving.
Mm.
That was the sort of the challenge, was how zapping the heat was. And because you were on the water and there were no trees around you, and how wide and big the expanse the river was, it was relentless. It really was. And there was a couple of days where we were hitting those sort of 60, 70 kilometre paddle days, and it was brutal. It was tough, and even the water that you were splashing on yourself from the river was still mid-20s, and it just wasn't cooling you, or you weren't getting any relief. And because you had to make those checkpoints, you just had to keep digging and just had to keep going. And I think at times, we all had our little lows, we all had our moments where we were having to get kind of pulled along or pull each other along. So yeah, it was tough. And I think that was probably the appeal of the challenge was, yes, we can go and do different challenges and races, but it was that unique environment. And I think it's probably one of the few things out there that really kind of tests you in terms of the heat, the humidity, all of the little bitey things. It really, really did make you think beyond just the paddling. Yeah.
And of course, to help with morale, you had your theme song of the expedition, which is "We're Paddling the Amazon," which is living rent free in my brain and has done ever since I listened to it first time. And but it sounded like, again, a bit of a
Mhm.
contribution from the team there, just to lighten the load when things were getting tough.
Yeah, it was our little song, and I don't know how it all kind of came about. I think it was the boys sort of messing about, and it took me a while to adopt it, but I got in with the swing of it. But every 30 kilometers we sang the song,
Mm.
and I don't know why 30 kilometers either. It just, yeah, but it was just like a little morale boost. And then we started things like the disco version, the Wild West version. We did different things, and then the canoeists got involved as well. So when we were passing them. I know they've got some videos of us singing it, and then we're starting to do twirls with our paddles as well. But it was just at times, I think, just to sort of soften the mood. And some of it, because we were as a team paddling, and the three of us, you were sort of long stretches where you didn't see people. So it was, yeah, just to keep morale up, keep going. But yeah, I laugh, I laugh and cringe in equal measures.
Well, the Wild West and disco version, I think, to come. Maybe there's a whole album. You heard it here first, folks. And then just going back to the experience itself. I mean, obviously, it taught you a huge amount, I would guess, in terms of planning and taking part in this sort of expedition. So, looking back on it, would you have brought different kit, and what other adjustments would you make, knowing what you know now?
That's a good question. Different kit. Probably one of the worst things I did take with me was my neoprene leggings. I genuinely thought that I think it was just hard actually, because we weren't expecting it to be as warm as it was. When we were looking at all the past sort of data, temperature data, when we were trying to look at apps and work out where we were at with temperature, everything we were looking at wasn't how it panned out. So at times I felt like we did slightly overdress. So I just took a very thin pair. I think it was like 1.5 mil, sort of like neoprene leggings, but it was too hot for those. And so yeah, a couple of extra pairs of very lightweight leggings would have been a good addition. More variety in my food. I'm one of these people, I really like what I like, and when I like it, I really like it. So I took a bit too much of the same. Real term at the chicken tikka meals, I took too many of them. So I wish I'd sort of mixed my menu up just a little bit more. So it worked out. We were doing swaps with other teams and between each other as well, just to try and mix it up slightly. But no, I think we did pretty well. We were really quite brutal, and we actually left a lot back in the hotel. So I think Matt, being Matt, and the amount of time we spent in the jungle, he, I think, took a quick look at me and John and said, right, I think you guys need to strip this down. So from what we had versus what we took out actually on the river was minimal. And in the end, I ended up wearing the same set of clothes every day for the sort of 6-7 days we were sort of out paddling and doing sort of water-based things. And the same with my sort of camp clothes. And, you know, we just went very, very lean on it, which worked really well. But yeah, I think, I don't think there would be a huge amount I would change. The kit we had was just fantastic, and we were supported with some really, really great brands that backed us, and they donated items, and you know it was really good to sort of get to test and trial out those things in that sort of jungle location. But yeah, I think we did okay. And it certainly put some fire in my belly to look at what the other possibilities are. And you know, there's a few other little trips I've got brewing around in my head and some ideas. So yeah, I think it was tough, and but I think we could up it again. I definitely do. Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's too early, and you've referred to some thoughts that you've had about future challenges, but do you have any sort of thoughts about where you might go next in terms of what the next expedition might be?
I've got a couple of ideas bouncing about. I've got one that's fairly close to home, which is quite an interesting idea that I've just been sort of mulling over, and it's been kind of mulling in the back of my mind for a couple of years, really. So I feel like I can maybe get that across the line. Yeah, I think it's the possibilities now. I've kind of been there. I think that's kind of made me just think a little bit more. I'm not giving much away, am
No,
I?
not really. Fair enough, though.
But yeah, I've got a few ideas, and you know, we're back to Scandinavia, and I know there's some other trips next year going out there, and potentially, you know, looking back at going back to South America. So yeah, there's I think it's made me realize how doable it is. And yeah, just putting your name down, really. And I think the hardest part of it all was kind of telling people you were doing it. I think once you sort of start saying, oh, I'm doing the Amazon challenge, and I think because of breaking my ankle and then ending up in hospital with my gallbladder, you know, and you just don't want to let people down, and you almost want that perfect ride into it, and you never ever get that perfect ride. So when you sort of put your head on that chopping block and you say that you're going to do something, you know, you really want to see it through. So yeah, I want to be certain I've got, you know, the time and everything, all the stars aligned, really, to make it happen.
Well, that's entirely fair enough. And if I could just put in a plug and say, whatever you do next, you know, we'd love to share it again, possibly in the next form as well, because I've really enjoyed experiencing this with you. Kaz, thanks so much to you and John and Matt for sharing your adventure with us. I do hope it will inspire others to take part next year. All links are in the show notes, and see you on the water hopefully very soon.
No, thank you, Simon. Thank you.